Now back to authors, writers, books, and beyond. This program also streams live on the web at tspntv.com and can be watched on demand at tspntv.com or TSPN TV's YouTube channel. And now back to authors, writers, books, and beyond.
Hi, welcome back to the second segment of Authors, Writers, Books, and Beyond. Again, I'm Kathy Boyd Fellure, your host, and these are my guests, Elaine Faber and Jennifer Sienes, authors and writers. And we're going to go right back to Jennifer where we left off. She was just finishing telling about her first book that was about suicide, and your second book.
My second book was then inspired by my daughter's car accident. She was in a near-fatal car accident and suffered traumatic brain injury. So now it's humorous. At the time, it wasn't so funny. She just turned 18. And
wasn't she an athlete, too?
No, my daughter. Are you kidding?
She wasn't, no?
No. She would be more of a couch potato. She's not the athletic type. But she just turned 18, and so she was in a coma for a week. It was right at Christmas time. And
so it was this time of year?
It was this time of year, and then inpatient rehab to relearn everything from talking, walking, swallowing, potty training, everything from the ground up. She was in inpatient rehab for a couple of months and then outpatient rehab for 8 months. So it was interesting. So that in my second novel is the only thing that's really true. The character of the girl in that is my daughter, basically, and what she went through, but nothing else in the novel is anywhere close to real.
It's fiction.
It's completely fiction.
And those are both completed?
Those are both completed. Well, I have 3 completed. My third one is completed, and it wasn't based on a tragedy. I asked God for another idea for a book, and I said, I just don't want to go through any more tragedies to get that idea. So
I don't think so.
One of the characters I had in the original first, you write a novel, then you rewrite and you rewrite. The first writing of a novel, my critique group loved her, and they said, oh, is she going to be in more of the book? And I said no, and then I ended up writing her out of the completely. She wasn't even in the first book anymore, but that kernel of an idea stuck with me, and she just grew. So I based the third novel on her, and it was the most fun. It was a completely different tone and voice. Now my agent wants me to go back and put that tone and voice in the first two because it's so much more fun. It's so that one was a really enjoyable
found your
one.
Voice.
Found my voice, and it was a fun one to write.
And your agent loves and respects your voice.
Well, my agent loves that book in particular. She's very excited about that book, so she's like, let's do it again.
What's the name of it?
The last one I named Surrendered. They don't let you keep your titles anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't.
Do you
My
have
first one was
backup titles?
Absolution, my second one was Redemption, this one was Surrendered. So, yeah.
Do you have backups?
I think I did, but I don't remember what they were. I'm not too concerned. I'm not good at titles. Even when I write my blogs every week, the hardest part for me is coming up with a title. I don't like doing that.
Well, it's not easy, is it? A lot of times publishers go in and take it from inside the book.
Right.
And even if they tell us not to fall in love with our title.
And I haven't.
Yeah. Sadly for me, I love my first title, but I do have backups. I have one I like and others that are just okay. So I did want to ask you too, because you went through the Jerry Jenkins Christian Writers Guild mentoring. Could you share about that?
Wow, that's been a couple of years now. It was a writing program, and I didn't take the first one. There are several different things. I took a journeyman course, and then to get into their heavier duty one, you needed to take another course, and they're not inexpensive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
And so I thought, I don't want to spend that kind of money. So you could test out. So if you send in a sample and they feel that your writing is at the quality, to be able to just go into there without taking the other classes. And I was fortunate they let me in. So I took that, and it was about a year long, and worked with a mentor teacher. I ended up getting a second mentor teacher. Mine was going through a lot of personal issues, and all of a sudden she wasn't good about returning stuff, and it wasn't working. So they gave me a second one, and it was a good course. I did get some help from that, but not any more than going to a Mount Hermon Writers Conference.
Well, I was going to ask, is it harder doing it online than actually being there?
I don't think so, because
he also offers
you have an
a
assignment. Well, you can go to the conference, and that's not the same as taking the class. The class is a year long. You're doing a journeyman assignment every, I think it's 6 or 8 weeks. You have a new assignment.
I think I remember when you started it.
And it was quite intensive. It's very intensive. But I did find it helpful.
I love Jerry Jenkins. He was my first person I met at Mount Hermon, and he was the first one to encourage me. And I think he just loves the writing craft, perfecting it, and he is just one of the biggest mentor encouragers of writers.
Well, he shows
I've
up.
ever met.
He shows up in the classes. I mean, he goes to conferences to learn. You know, you think that you get to be that point. You think you're all that and you're good to go, and he still shows up.
Yeah, and sadly, he just sold that. The Christian
did he?
writer
I
guild.
didn't hear that.
Yeah, that was very, to me, a very sad loss, because I think what he does is phenomenal, and it's a great loss within the whole community, the whole writing community, whether it's ABA or CBA,
Right.
because both people go there. And I have a lot of respect for the man,
Yeah.
a lot of personal respect. Just think he has given and given and given a lot, and he continues to. I'm now going to switch over to Elaine. She is going to read us a little snippet from the cat's point of view.
From the cat's point of
And
view.
so you are really blessed to hear this.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Well, let's see. Where'd my clip go? Well, what had happened was somebody had tried to kill grandmother, and the cat intervened, jumped on his head, and made him drop his weapon and ran away. So the folks have come and gone and taken her away to the hospital. So Thumper is the cat's name. And he has a sweetheart, grandmother's cat. He's in love with grandmother's cat. No. Her name is No.
No cat. It's like
So
a
Thumper
dog.
lay down on the corner of the bed, his toes curled under his breast. He understood what he'd done all right. He'd done his duty to take care of his family. And even though she was mean as a garter snake and just as ugly, grandmother was part of his family. No jumped up and lay down beside him. Grandmother reached over and stroked both cats' heads. No purred, squinting affectionately at Thumper. She kneaded the blanket, her eyes half closed, and then flopped down beside him. You're my hero. Thanks for saving Mum. Mum? She's that fond of the endearment made about as much sense as a scorpion named Snookums. Thumper yawned. Do you remember Will Rogers? He once said, we can't all be heroes because someone has to sit on the curb and clap as they go by. No twitched a whisker. Now it's my turn to guard grandmother. This isn't over. Wilbur's going to try again. She craned her neck back and gazed at grandmother. They don't have any idea what really happened, do they? Oh, they know she took the pills, but they don't know about Wilbur. Oh, I just hate this. I wish we could tell them. I do so envy their language skills. No flicked her ear. Thumper rolled over, showing off his spectacular white tummy to its best advantage. He waved his two front paws. Our extra toes make us more intuitive than most cats, but I've often wished I had the gift of language. Even without language, cats are far superior to humans. How so, dear heart? An unexpected purr leapt to his throat. His heart did a little flip. She called me dear heart. Yowza! Thumper, dear, you were saying about being superior? Of course I agree, but specifically, how would you define our superiority? Specifically? Thumper closed his eyes and pulled his whiskers back. Well, cats don't covet one another's blankets or toys. We don't kill our mates or abuse our young. We don't wage war on other neighborhoods or consume things that make us lose control of our senses. He rolled back on his stomach. Well, maybe a little catnip from time to time, strictly for recreational purposes. I see. Your points are well taken, my dear, but I've heard that mother cats will lie on their young if they're sickly or too weak to survive. Of course, I'm sure it's quite by accident. Of course.
Oh, my goodness. Well done.
Thank you.
Wow. And is Mum British?
No, that's just a little affectionate
Oh,
name that
okay.
she called her, like moms called her kids Pumpkin and
Anything but their names. We
Yeah,
don't have
right,
nicknames
pretty
for
much,
them.
yeah.
Wow, I'm very impressed. That's just lovely.
So, like I say, part of the book is written through his eyes, and when we get into his head, he's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun. And the other characters, of course, are much more serious, and they have no idea that the cats are what they're doing. They don't know that the cats are actively involved in trying to keep things in order and
Help
protect
out.
them and help out.
Now,
Right.
how different is book 2 from book 1?
In book 1, Kimberly.
Can you show that cover
yeah,
too? Because that's
in
neat.
book 1, Kimberly first meets Thumper. she returns to the place where she was born and where her father was murdered when she was an infant. And the cats at Fern Lake had seen the murder. They'd witnessed the murder. And so the cat now, Thumper, has the memories of his ancestors, and so he knows what's going on. And so he's trying to help her solve the crime in the first book. And, of course, it all ends with love story, you know, where she meets the author who's writing about the murder, and they get married in the end. I shouldn't tell you that. That's a spoiler. But anyway, they do. And then in the second book, the family goes to Texas at grandmother's invitation, supposedly because she's going to name her beneficiary. But what happens is that the attorney thought she was going to give all her money to his children's benefit program, which is actually a false program. He's embezzling her money. So we get into
Something
that
there.
stuff,
That's
yes.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm curious what you two read,
Oh, wow.
because we also read.
We
Well,
do.
We have to read.
Were you a reader first?
Oh, gosh.
Way back.
From the, read all the time. Yeah, I was reading a lot. Don't have as much time to read when you're writing, though,
I know.
unfortunately.
Except manuscripts.
That's right.
Well, we'll start into it when we come back from break. We can talk more, but what is the first thing you remember reading?
Kathy's Room.
Really?
There was a contest in the 5th grade. That's the first thing I remember, because I was in a contest at who could read the most pages in one night, and I had to win, and I did. So that was the first full book I remember reading, like, in one night.
I've never heard of it.
It was a little kid's book.
How
It was
neat.
back in the 5th grade. So.
Was it from the library, the school library?
Yeah.
Yeah?
The school library.
Interesting. Well, we'll come back from break and I'll talk to you about that, because I think all those years of reading influence our writing.
For sure.
And I think it's interesting what we start out reading as children, and then, you know, in our teens and young adult life, and then actually I'm midlife now, so, you know, we're later in life, and our youth are later in life. But come back and join us if you'd like to hear about some books that we found interesting, and love to hear back from you, what you read. Thanks. Bye-bye.
You're watching your local television network,